Hey, what is going on, Virgos? Butch Tarot here. I am going to do your 1 week read. It is a general read, so it may not resonate with everyone. It is for your Sun, Moon, Rising, and your Venus. For all you cross watchers, roles can be reversed. Always feel free to comment down below. I'm going to use the Edgar Allan Poe Tarot. So I did a little different setup now. What I'm going to do is basically I'll put a post about it to refresh everybody's memory because you might not even read this part. I know a lot of people skip ahead. Read this part. You might not watch this part. But I decided to start doing signs all together. That way I'm never going to miss a sign. Sometimes I do miss out on signs. Like I feel like Taurus has been getting the short end of the stick. But this way, it keeps me on track. So I'll be doing like all fire signs, all water signs, all earth signs, all air signs, all in order. That way I'm not forgetting or missing out on anybody or nobody feels left out. And I apologize to whatever sign ends up being last, which is going to be an air sign. Then I'm going to do a bunch of singles reads for the singles because in my poll, that's the one I get the most votes for. And then I'll go back to general reads. Anyway, with all that being said, let's get it. Universe, what message do we have for Virgos? What's going on for Virgos, universe? All right, Virgos. So the first thing I see, Virgos, I feel like this connection coming towards you. I see someone new coming toward you, but I feel like we have to talk about something else here that I'm seeing too, and I feel like I want to talk about that first. And I feel like this new person coming toward you is actually part of this. I see some doors opening up for you. I see these new opportunities, new avenues. Now that may be in career because like I said, I feel like this person coming in is part of this, but I feel like there's a much grander scale here. They may play a role in it though, but I do see these doors opening up for you, and I see some big changes on the horizon. Now, to get back to this person, what I see, I feel like for some of you may have just met this person, for others it's coming in, but it definitely feels like a new energy. I see someone that has their shit together. And I feel like this is someone, with the King of Pentacles, that Taurus energy, I feel like this is someone that knows where they're going. They have a plan. They have goals. They have dreams. And with the Nine of Pentacles, it's almost like this a sense that this person felt like they had everything they needed. And along came you. And they realized they were wrong. What I see is a very impulsive energy that this person, you've done something to this person, Virgo, because we have the Knight of Wands. I feel like this is a little bit of character for this person. I feel like very spontaneously feeling drawn to you and almost acting on that. So I do feel like that this starts kind of in a physical sense. This we got from the first moment. They didn't expect to meet you. They didn't expect to feel this way. I mean, it hit really quickly. I mean, you got this person fantasizing about you. You know, they're including you. You got them starting to include you in their dreams. You know, in their visions of the future. You know, with that page of cups, you know, you're getting added into those goals, and you're getting added into those where they see themselves. You know, before it was like they see themselves, you know, doing this and that, and now all of a sudden they got you involved in that. I mean, they're already including you in this stuff and thinking about you and only you. They can't seem to shake you. Now, this is where it gets a little fuzzy. I feel like even though we have those feelings that they have towards you, even though there's this connection that you have toward each other, I do feel like there's a little bit of resistance on their end. Like, not quite, even though they feel it, even though they're drawn to you, even though they can't stop thinking about you, I feel a little defensive energy. And it's not because of what you may think, thinking like this person isn't ready for this. It's not that. I feel like they're just afraid. Like I said, they didn't see you coming. They weren't expecting someone like you to come into their life. And now that you're there, it's like once they know you, they can't unknow you. But now it's that fear. You know, I just feel like this fear is taking over, and I feel like it's going to cause a little bit of hot and cold energy. Like, there may be times when you feel like this person isn't as interested, and there's going to be times when you're like, they're definitely interested. So it's going to be a little bit back and forth, and there's going to be a part where it feels like they're dragging their feet. It's not. I feel like they're just trying to come to terms with the fact that they don't feel alone anymore. They found someone that makes them not want to be alone anymore. I kind of feel like they were okay with that. Like they were a lone wolf and now they just met another person and now they want them to be part of their pact. But like I said, I mean, that's very minor details is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like that energy won't last long. Patience will pay off with this person is what I'm hearing. You know, we have the Eight of Swords in reverse and the Star card. So I do see this like Star card with that Aquarius energy. I feel like this person will open up more and more. You know, starting to share their hopes and their dreams with you and their goals, opening up to you about a lot of things. And I feel like it's going to be almost like a subconscious energy to start disclosing things to you, telling you things that are important to them, telling you things, excuse me, telling you things they necessarily didn't think they were going to tell anybody. You know, letting you in on the ground floor. But like I said, I do feel like this person's been hurt before, and I feel like they kind of put their walls up, and that's why they've been so focused on just being that lone wolf. And that's what's causing this fear here is because now they see someone else coming in that they want in their life, but they're almost afraid because I feel like they made a poor choice before. But I do see them communicating that with you. So like I said, patience is going to pay off with this. And it's going to pay off big time. You know, with this person, once they start giving, it's almost like they can't stop. And I you know, showing up, putting in the work, I feel like that's just who they are. You know, we have the Seven of Pentacles being on the same page, the Eight of Pentacles showing up, putting in the work. What I see here in an actual huge nutshell is I feel like this person didn't expect you to meet someone like you. And now that they met you, they can't unmeet you. You know, and their feelings for you are real. And they happen very quickly. With that King of Cups is that emotional maturity. This is not someone that just got a crush on you. This is not someone that, you know, sees you as a physical form. They see all of you. They feel like they finally met their match. You know, they found that missing piece they didn't know they were looking for. And now that they know it exists, it's like they feel like something's missing without you. And again with that Queen of Wands, I mean, they can only hold back their desire for you for so long. This person, I do see this person going the other way, nurturing this connection. I mean, you're what they've always been waiting for and didn't even know it. And for you, it's the same thing. I'm not just going to put it out there as in how they're feeling about this. I feel like you feel drawn to this person as well. Definitely getting a soulmate energy here. Like I said, this person is driven. They're reliable. They're dependable. They're honest. And I feel like past people couldn't handle that about them. But I feel like that's right up your alley. And I feel like you're gonna dig that about this person. And yes, I use the word dig. Dig it. Like I said, I mean, this is you're not like anyone this person's ever met before, and the more they realize that, the more they'll open up. Once they realize that history isn't repeating themselves, but like I said, that's just a minor energy. I feel like it's a minor setback. Like I said, you're not like anyone that they've ever met before, and they're not like anyone you've ever met before. Like I said, I mean, this person has big dreams, big goals, and they're good at getting it. They're passionate. At the end of the day, like I said, the patience pays off because we have victory with the Six of Wands. That's all about victory. And establishing that trust as well with the Knight of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles is slow and steady energy. It's getting to know someone, and the more you get to know them, the more you just feel like you can trust them. Feel like what they're telling you is the truth. And that's a hard thing to gain sometimes with people, especially this hot and cold energy isn't going to make it easier. But like I said, patience will pay off in this. Love will prevail. And like I said, this is part of this new opportunities I see for you. Like when we started this off with the Seven of Cups, opening up new opportunities. This person is part of that. Whether or not they actually are the nexus of it, or they're just along for the ride. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing if this person is the starting point for these changes, or if they're just part of the changes. But like I said, I see a lot of things changing here. And in a very, very positive way. I mean, we have the Ten of Cups as well, so I feel like what that tells me is I feel like this person sees you as someone that starting that family with, or someone that they can share. I feel like family is important to this person, and not willing to let that space in their life be filled by someone that doesn't deserve it. But they never felt that before. They never saw that before until they met you, and now they have a place available for you. They're making room for you in their life. With this person, we have Aquarius, we have Gemini, we have Libra, Cancer, we have Sagittarius, getting some Leo as well, Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus. Especially when you've been hurt before, sometimes people just like cut it off. Like shut that shit off and just move on and not even think about it again until someone comes along that they can't help but think about it. I've told a story before with me and Rose when we first met. Before I met her, I had written off love. I'm a hopeless romantic. I'm a hopeless love junkie. I just love love. And that's something that she's rejuvenated in me. Because before I met her, I was done. Like I was in a really bad relationship a few years before I met her. And it was toxic. I had been cheated on. And it was just, like, it wasn't just the cheating. It was It was the one time she cheated on me one time, and I walked away. But before the cheating, it was like there was an abusive relationship, mentally and physically. She would go crazy. She was a very jealous person, and I had given her no reason to be jealous, and it just put a very sour taste in my mouth when it came to a relationship, because in my mind I thought, is that what love is? And if it is, I don't want any of it. So I stayed away. I actually dated a girl in between Rose and that ex. um, Things started getting a little serious between the two of us, and I just ended it because I didn't want to cross that line. You know, I lost everything with that the toxic ex that I had, because when I found out she cheated on me, I just left. It was my place. She moved in with me. It was all my stuff. I found out she cheated on me. I walked away and I started over again. I didn't want nothing. I didn't want nothing from that. I didn't want the TVs. I didn't want the furniture. And to be honest, I took a big bag of clothes, like I have an army bag from when I was in the military, and I took an army bag full of clothes, and even in my other clothes, I never went back for. She called me one time and she's like, "Are you coming to get your clothes?" And I was like, "Just throw them out, or give them to your new boyfriend. I don't care. I don't want them. I had nothing to do with it." But like I said, it was the jealousy that she had a problem with, and it was, when she got mad, she would throw things, stuff like that. And I mean, I'm not getting into it because that's a lot darker than I want. Sorry, I'm rubbing myself. I don't know why, but it's so hot here. I just feel like I'm constantly sweating. We're having a really hot day today. But anyway, back to the story. I laugh about it now. I mean, it's and mentally abusive. Like, I remember going out with my friends, and she'd be so jealous that she would call me, and I'd answer, and she'd just be, going on about this and that. If I was out with girls, who am I out with? I'm like, I'm out with this person, this person, this person. And back then, it was when you like actually wrote numbers down. So she started calling the friends that I said I was with and asking them if I was with them. And then, it was just so toxic. Like, I'm there in a car with my buddies. We're driving somewhere, and she's calling everybody in the vehicle to make sure that the people I said I was with is who I was with. And I mean, that was just the tip of the iceberg. I get into it, but nobody wants to hear all that shit. But nevertheless, like I said, that I consider that mentally abusive, because there'd be times when I just got sick of it. Like, she'd be the type of person, I don't know if you've ever met someone that was like that, but she would call 100 times in a row. If I didn't answer, she'd keep calling, keep calling. So sometimes I would block her. And then she'd call my friend up, and then she'd be screaming at my friend. I consider that mentally abusive, because like my friends started finding it harder and harder to hang out with me, because it was a whole drama fest. And there was other things too as well. I mean, it's, when you're in a relationship with sometimes most times, if you're honest, you tell people that you're with sometimes more things than you should. Like maybe saying something about someone that, telling a story about someone that you heard, and then them telling that person that you said that. And obviously you shouldn't talk behind people's back, but you know what I mean? When you're with someone, you hear something about someone, you tell that person because that's your person. You feel like you can trust them. And then when, I tried to break up with her a few times, and she'd go and she threatened to tell those people what I said. And at the time I was smoking weed. I mean, I still do from time to time, but not as much as I used to. She threatened to call the cops on me plenty of times, because at the time it was illegal to smoke. And it was just like all this, I went to break up with her one time, and she said, "I'm going to call the cops, tell them you smoke, come arrest you." And like, it was just so mentally draining. But the point of the story is, sometimes we have some bad shit that happens to us, and it turns us off. I drank milk one time, and it was curdled, and I love milk. And it was like this chunky stuff. Terrible story. It came out all chunky because I drank it out of the carton, because it was at my apartment. I was the only person living there at the time. I don't do that when I have other people around. I shouldn't have done it then either, but I did it. and this it was chunky. And if I would have put it in the glass, I would have seen it. So that was karma. Um, but yeah, I was off milk for probably 4 years, and I love milk. That's what I mean. Sometimes you just get put off of something by a bad experience, and I feel like that's what this person, they dealt with a bad experience, so they kind of went off and they bettered themselves. And I feel like I fit into that because I bettered myself after her. I started from nothing when I left her. I started over again, and I got more now than I ever did then. But like I said, when I met Rose, it was just kind of the same scenario as this as well. When I met Rose, there was no turning her down. There was no denying how I felt about her. Sometimes you just meet that one that you can't. You can try, but I tried when I met her too. I'll be honest with you. I try to act not interested, but I was just drawn to her. I remember I'd check out her Facebook page at least, once a day. And I know that sounds creepy, and I'm sorry, but I just had to see her. I wasn't stalking her though. I wasn't gonna go through all the pictures. I just had to see one picture of her just to, make my day. And I even had a message. I remember she phoned me and she left a message on my phone one time. And I heard that. I remember listening to that message quite a few times. I liked hearing her voice. Anyway, I went too far with this whole story. Be good. Take care. Stay safe.